Now let's take a look at table variables. In different videos in the course, I did a couple of little simple illustrations of temporary tables and common table expressions. And you're going to see table variables are a very close cousin to those particular constructs. But in a different video, I'm going to talk about the comparison between these three tools that you can use. But the bottom line is they allow us to create these kind of virtual environments where we can manipulate data. And you will usually do this within a stored procedure. We'll create a procedure called getCustomer, and we'll just call it getCust as. And then within the confines of this stored procedure, I want to show you how to use a table variable. And we do this very, very similar to what we did with temporary tables. I will declare @ and I'll create a variable, but I will make it a type. The data type of this variable will be the keyword table, and then I'm going to, just like I'm creating a table, just like with temporary table, I will do first name, varchar 25, and last name, varchar 25. And then I can close that out. And to make that a little easier for you to see, let me do it the way I did the other ones. And so that will create our table. If I come down here and then try to do a select asterisk from @tbl, you will notice, for example, if I highlight just these two and run it, that will create the table, and then I will select from it, and you'll notice I don't get anything from the table. So we'll come down here and we'll load the table up, and I'll do an insert into @tbl, and I'll select first name, last name from sales LT customer, and then I will select everything from the table variable. Now notice I have to run this all as one unit, and I'll explain that in just a minute. So if I run that like that, notice this right here is this particular command. We created the table, then we did a select, there was nothing in it. Then we did our insert, and we did another select, and this is what came out. Now I want you to notice something. After this particular command has run, or this group of commands, this particular set, after it has completed, I go back and try to read from that table variable. It says, I don't know what you're talking about here. You'll have to declare this variable. Because what happened is the variable only lived while this particular code was running. And once this code completed, then the table variable was dropped. When we're working with temporary tables, those things were persisted. It was a temporary table that lasted until I broke the connection. But with a temporary table, it's going to only last while this particular program or this particular group of commands are executing. That's one big difference. There's something else I can do here, and that is I can say select last name, first name from @tbl. Now what I'm going to do is execute all of this as a stored procedure, and this will, notice, should come back and say command completed successfully. And now all I have to do is call getCust to kick all of that off. And so I'll type getCust, and so what happens when I execute the stored procedure, it creates a table variable, it loads it up, it kicks it out, then it gives me my two result sets. Well, what I can do within my stored procedure is I can come back in here and alter this, and I'll show you how to do this in Transact SQL, and I can just simply comment this out. And I do this all the time with clients, and I will comment this out. And so what I'm going to do is create my table right here, my table variable. Then I'm going to insert right here, and then I'm just going to select the last name and first name from it. And so I've done an alter procedure here. So I will highlight all this, and I won't get the getCustomer. I'll just get all the code, and I'll execute it, and it should come back and say completed successfully. Now when I just execute this, all I will get back is this last select statement. And so when a client comes back, or when whoever I'm working with, this data is feeding the report, and they're saying, I'm not sure you're getting all the data like you're supposed to, or I'm not sure we're getting everything out that we need, I can come back in here, alter the procedure again, and actually what I would do in that instance is come back in here under programmability, and find my getCust, right-click it, modify this thing, let it come up this way, and this is the way I would see it with them. And I'd say, well, I tell you what, I will uncomment this, and I will let you see what ends up in that table from this select statement. Now, this is not a good example because this is going to show it first name, last name, and then I'm just flipping it around showing it last name, first name. But anyway, I did an alter procedure on that, and so I'll execute that, right? And once I get a command back, then I can come out here and re-execute a get cust, run that, and then it's going to show the different parts of this. There's the first one that came out and the last one. And so we can trace through the result sets as we go. And this is huge when you're doing some really convoluted, complex calculations at different phases. And I hope that makes sense to you, because once I satisfy the client that we're pulling all the data from the right places, I'm going to go back in there, turn my comments back on so that that won't execute. I'm going to alter my store procedure again to update it. That's using a table variable. Now in the next video, I'm going to compare table variables, common table expressions, and so forth to make sure that you understand the little differences between these things, because they are similar.